What is up, y'all? Let me make sure audio's good. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Well, hitting the play button on that would probably help. That's an ad. No. How are you all doing today? Long time no see. Looking at some of the comments. No, this isn't a call-in show. I'm just doing a quick preview. Not quick, but we're just going to talk some things out as Alabama will play Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl. All righty, now that I can check audio, now we can officially. Yeah, sometimes it's a call-in. Mark does call-ins, but I don't have that technology. It's just me and a computer right now. So anyway, playoffs here, and you are here on Mark Rogers, Voice of College Football, Mark Rogers TV. Whether you're watching on SEC, Voice of College Football SEC, the main channel, Voice of College Football Alabama, welcome to the show. This isn't going to be a long show today. I don't want to get too personal, but I did just test positive for the coronavirus. So I feel like crap, and I have for about 4 days. So I'm not going to talk forever because my throat hurts. Yeah, that's me. So we'll talk about the game for a little bit, talk a little about the SEC and the bowl thing right now. Why I think some things are getting a little overblown. And then we will end the show, and I'm going to go eat and probably take a nap. Not going to lie to you. So, Alabama, number one in the country, coming off the big win over Georgia. Undefeated Cincinnati, a group of 5 team. Not finally, in the playoff. They've broken the glass ceiling. They're a really good team. They completely deserve to be here. If you disagree, you're wrong. What can they do to present problems for Alabama? You're going to have to excuse the coughs and the sniffles. I apologize in advance. What can they do? Well, here's the thing we've talked about with Alabama, and those that have been watching me all year, and we've talked about this, is Alabama has struggled to run the ball a lot this year. Brian Robinson Jr. is a good running back. He is. But he's not Najee Harris. He's not, Derrick Henry or any of these guys. He's a good running back. He's not great. And it's shown against some teams, and I'm not even just talking like good teams. Like LSU, Alabama really struggled to run the football, only averaging 0.2 yards per rush. Well, Zach's sack yardage, Robinson was 13 carries, 18 yards. We want to look at a different game? Okay, let's go to Southern Miss. They put up 63 on Southern Miss. Roydell Williams had a big game, but he's not playing. And Brian Robinson didn't play in that game either. So it shows what I know. That game feels like a lifetime ago. Let's pull up a game against another pretty weak opponent. Let's look at Auburn, who's not bad defensively, but they're not as good as Cincinnati. 4.4 yards a carry. The Alabama run defense, or not run defense, run game is not good this year. It's just not. It's not as dominant as it has in past years. And the Cincinnati pass defense is pretty good. I think Cincinnati and Alabama struggled to beat LSU and Auburn, Florida, who just got rocked by UCF. Okay. Cincinnati has a very good pass defense. They have a cornerback in Gardner who's gonna go in the first round. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll shut down Mechie or not Mechie, Williams. Hang on, I got a message from my doctor. That's important. Gardner, he's going to go in the first round. So that doesn't mean they're going to be able to shut down Williams. But Alabama has been so successful this year in the pass game because they've had multiple options. You have Mechie in the intermediate to short game, and you have Williams over the top. How do they replace Mechie? They have guys, obviously, Alabama's super talented. They always are going to be. But what can Slade Bolden, Billingsley, Latu, can Ja'Cory Brooks make an impact? These are the guys that are going to have to make some plays, not only against Cincinnati, but against potentially Georgia or Michigan. I'm actually, to be honest, when I look at the stats and I look at the numbers and I'm thinking about this game, I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if it happens, obviously, but I don't know if Alabama's going to be able to name the score against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's defense is well coached. They have been for a long time. And they've got some talent. They got some guys that can cover. And yet you're deep in receivers. I see the comment. But they're unproven, they're unexperienced, and this is a big stage. If they were going to run all over somebody, they would have run all over like Mercer, and they didn't. Anyway, the bigger issue for Cincinnati I see is offensively. Are they going to be able to move the ball? Now, granted, no one has seen, but they haven't seen a player like Will Anderson or Jordan Battle or some of these guys. So I have a weird feeling, if you guys remember back in what year was that? 25th? It had to have been 2015. 2016. When they played Michigan State. And Michigan State defensively held up okay. Like, I think it was 38-0. But they played okay. Hang on, let me pull that up real quick because I'm thinking about this game. See, up December 31st, I didn't get to watch that game. I was at a Blues game. Yeah, they held up okay. Henry was at 3.8 yards per carry. Nope, I pulled up that Auburn game. Henry was at 3.8 yards per carry. Calvin Ridley had a huge game, and Jameson Williams very easily could. Only gave up 286 yards passing. All in all, they didn't play that bad. Defensively, Michigan State did in that day. Offensively, they just couldn't get anything done. And that's the worry if you're Cincinnati. That Alabama game, it was Alabama Michigan State game was 10-0 going into halftime. But because the Michigan State offense and Connor Cook wasn't able to generate anything offensively, the defense wore down, and Alabama was just going to grind on them. They did stomp them, but if you listen to what I just said, Derrick Henry only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Like, he wasn't good that game. He wasn't very good. I mean, for what we had seen from him that year, I wouldn't call 20 carries, 75 yards, 3.8 yards per carry, along of 14 good. The Alabama defense showed up that day and shut down a pretty offense, which is, if I'm being fully transparent here, is what I think is going to happen come Friday. And because I have the coronavirus, I'll be here Friday after the game. I had plans to do stuff with family, but I'm not going anywhere. So I'll be here after the game. I'll watch it in my room. I got a nice 60-inch TV. Not 60-inch. It's smaller than that, but it's pretty big. And I'll watch it, and then we'll come live a little bit after. We'll talk about the game. And it should be a fun one. I'm excited for Georgia, Michigan. This one I'm intrigued by because I think there's an avenue for Cincinnati to make this a game. And then if you can make this a game, all the pressure gets on Alabama. If you're Cincinnati, you're playing with house money. Because if you lose and you get blown out, everyone thinks you're going to get blown out anyway. But that's a program with a lot of pride, a really good football coach. Luke Fickell. I see people like, since they don't belong. But Luke Fickell's a heck of a football coach. There's a reason every place in the country wants him to be their head football coach, besides the guys with established, like Clemson, Alabama. I know Oklahoma probably took a run at him. Oklahoma probably took a run at him before they hired Brent Venables, which, wow, I haven't been on here since that was done. Holy cow. It's been a long month. But there's an avenue for Cincinnati to make this a game and put a lot of pressure on Alabama. And if they lose, that's, whatever. Like, this is tougher than I thought it was going to be. Holy cow, my throat hurts. But the thing for Cincinnati is Desmond Ritter's going to have to come to play. Is Desmond Ridder better than Zach Calzada? Yeah. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. Yeah, Saban's better than Luke Fickell. I mean, anyone saying any coach is better than Saban right now is just blasphemous. I mean, like, that's the best way I could put it. Is just you're hoping against hope that your coach is better than Saban. But Desmond Ritter's going to have to come to play. Now, he's had a good season. Maybe he gets picked in the draft, but he's better than Zach Calzada, and we all know what Zach Calzada did to this Alabama defense. He's a better quarterback than Stetson Bennett. So they should present a tougher task in shutting him down than shutting down Stetson Bennett. I mean, Zach Calzada, 21 for 31, 285, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, no. Desmond Ritter's better than that. The Alabama defense has had games where they've just gotten exposed. Emory Jones didn't play that well. I take that back, but Emory Jones is terrible. I'm sorry. And Stetson Bennett, I know he threw for 340 yards, but they trailed that whole game after going up early. They went up 10-0, and then all of a sudden they found themselves down 31-17, one drive into the third quarter. So he was going to put up yards. Hey, bud, maybe listen, because I did just say I'll be here that night. So maybe these are called ears. Use them. Clown. Goofy clown. Turn around. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is Saban, when he has a long, which is why I don't understand why teams like Miami schedules Alabama week 1. Like, you're going to give Nick Saban months to prepare for you. No wonder all these teams get murdered, except Duke, because like Duke, why are you playing Duke in Atlanta? That was dumb. Or like Louisville. I mean, maybe if they had Lamar, but that was dumb. John, I'm giving you crap, but ears, listen, use them. But Desmond Ritter's gonna have to come to play. They have they have depth at receiver. They don't really have a number one guy. They have 7 or 8 guys with over 200 yards and 10 catches. So they're not a team. Alec Pierce has 50 catches. And Trey Tucker has 32. That's the next most. But Leonard Taylor's 27. Tyler Scott, 26. Jerome Ford, the running back, has 18. Jerome Ford, what can he do in this game? Because despite the Alabama pass defense at times this year being miserable. You good, brother. I'm just giving you trouble. That's all. Besides the pass defense for Alabama being miserable at times, the run defense has remained elite. Like it's a tick behind Georgia's in Wisconsin in terms of rush defense. But the key when you're playing Alabama is you have to have something in the run game. You have to have something. And Jerome Ford is a good running back. He doesn't have to average, 5 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry. I mean, shoot, the Alabama pass game worked last week against Georgia, and what Brian Robinson averaged? 3.4 yards a carry? Yeah. I know. That's why I don't understand why teams schedule those games, though. Like, why was Michigan – was that Wisconsin team any good? That was the 2015 Wisconsin team? USC was terrible until they switched to Sam Darnold. Virginia Tech, yeah, that was a fun one. Clemson – who's on that Clemson team? Was it the Kyle Parker, CJ Spiller? Miami, yeah, they're terrible. I don't understand why teams schedule those games because you're going to get stomped. Like we don't anyone was here that's talked to me about those games. I've talked about those games. I just don't understand it. What did I do to Mark? Please don't call the FBI. I'm kidding. Sure. If I have to give a score prediction for their game, I would say 35-13. That sounds a little low for Alabama, to be honest. Maybe 42-17. Like I got a guy here saying I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I do think Alabama wins this game comfortably, but that doesn't mean there's not an avenue for Cincinnati. Like if I just came on here and was like, Alabama's going to win by 30. All right, bye. That's dumb. That's a dumb preview show. There is an avenue for Cincinnati. Cincinnati isn't, use my own team. They're not Missouri. It's not like I'm coming on here being like, well, Missouri, if Connor Bazelak does this and Brady Cook does this and maybe Kiki Chisholm gets the ball over the top. No, Cincinnati's better than that. They have an avenue to win this game. And I'm trying to talk through that. I don't think Cincinnati's going to win. Only like goofballs would honestly think I'm trying to say Cincinnati's going to win. What even is the spread? I should know this. I don't know. Like, I'll be honest. The last 4 days have been a blur. Like, I've just been in bed, sick, feeling like crap. What is the spread? Alabama spread. Is it 14.5 still? 14. It's 14. Yeah, I would bet Alabama to cover that. I would bet Alabama to cover that. 13.5. Yeah, 13.5, 14. I'd bet Alabama. If I were a betting person, I would bet Alabama to cover that. I'd love to see Cincy win. I would too. And this is nothing against Alabama fans. I've been doing Alabama coverage all year. You guys are awesome. You guys did a great job, but it'd be kind of cool. It'd be weird, but it'd be kind of cool to see it. Uh, yeah, Alabama played close games against some really bad teams like LSU, Auburn. Cincinnati played some close games against Navy, but the the thing is too is Cincinnati blew Cincinnati in the games that had to win won comfortably. Like it had to win comfortably. They did win comfortably. Houston, SMU, Notre Dame, potentially, potentially, potentially. It's good. This was the year Alabama was supposed to be like, okay. This is the year Alabama was supposed to take a little bit of a step back, and that was last year too. But they just don't because they're Alabama. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. 17 points depends. That's not a bad. That's not a bad. But if it's like 20, if it's like 30-20, Alabama's up like 30-20 and scores a touchdown with like 2 minutes left and to go up 37-20. I wouldn't consider that a blowout. Context has to matter. But I would say like 20 plus. Or even like if you just feel like the game's never in doubt, that'd be a blowout. And I would predict a blowout. 40 what I just say 42-17. I think that's what I said. I said 37-13. That's somewhere in there. I don't really remember. I didn't write it down. But I would predict something like that. 37-13, 42-17, somewhere in there. But I wouldn't be surprised at halftime it's like 20-7 or something, and we're like, hey, they're around, they're hanging around. Good for them. Yeah, context. That's what I'm saying. Context matters. But 17's not a bad number to be like, yeah, it's a blowout. But if it, so we'll see. I'm gonna go for like 10-15 more minutes because that's not a bad point. What was that? Let me see here. LSU, Alabama. Was that 2016? Or it was 10-0? You guys should be impressed. I could pull this out of my hat like that. I was actually thinking of this game earlier. Yeah, like that game was 10-0, and Alabama didn't score its 10 points till the fourth quarter, but 323 to 125 in yardage. Like, is that a blowout? Like, I really don't know. Yeah, we can move on to talk a little bit about some other games. The Georgia game is interesting. I think there's more of an avenue, obviously, for Michigan to beat Georgia than Cincinnati. But Cade McNamara is going to have to make some throws. And he made some throws against Michigan State, but I don't know if he can make throws against Georgia. We'll see. I don't really have a rooting interest in that game. Like, I'm sick. I'm just gonna have to sit. I have to stay. I'm gonna watch it anyway. So, I'm kind of stranded in my room right now. But I would like to not see a rematch. Yeah, probably. I mean, that's what I said about Texas A&M too, and Texas A&M won. But Texas A&M, but yeah, they're probably going to need a defensive score, which they can get. They've got some good corners. They got a first round pick that'll be a corner, and Gardner. They can do it. It's just it's an uphill battle. But defensively is not even where, like I said, defensively is not my biggest concern with them, because I think defensively, I think it's going to be like the Michigan State game, but where I think they can hang around defensively for a while. They can stand up to the point of attack. It's offensively, can they move the ball and move it consistently enough where they're getting more than field goals, they're getting touchdowns, and they can stay in the game that way. Defensively, I wouldn't be shocked if we're getting into like the late second quarter and early third, and they've only given up 14 points, 17 points. But how much is that going to matter when you're not scoring any points? Because if your defense is only giving up 17 points, 24 points against Alabama, you did a great job, but eventually the dam's going to break. I've seen it happen too many times. That's not a bad score prediction. I don't like that. I like that one. Same. Same. And I hope anyone that has canceled games, I hope everyone's okay. Nobody, which is why Cade McNamara is going to have to make some throws. Also, Georgia hasn't faced a running attack as good as Michigan's. Because Alabama's run games is not good. Who else did they play? Maybe God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Mizzou had the third leading rusher in the country. And Tyler Beatty, but he didn't play that well in that game. They really haven't faced anybody like Michigan. Oh, excuse me. I apologize for the coughs and all that. I really do apologize. Let's see. Back to John. Michigan's capable of winning this game, but I see it 24-14. Yeah, this is a game I would stay away from because not Mizzou. I just saw a comment. Michigan has the ability with Corum and Haskins to steal a couple touchdowns where they're such good running backs that they can maybe score a weird one. They break a tackle and get a 50-yard run, and then it takes 2 plays and they score. So it's a weird game. Not this year. Not under Drinkwitz. They've been more run-based with Roundtree and Beatty. Because that's the Vegas odds, I would say. Georgia and Alabama are favored by quite a bit. Well, then maybe they should have had their way with LSU then, or Mercer, or Florida. Well, Florida's a different story. LSU is playing a bunch of backup linemen. I hope we can get through the rest of the season without COVID issues. Same. I haven't even looked at it, but fair enough. I mean, if I looked at it, I'd probably agree with you. It's just that game has a feeling of a couple weird. That's a game because while Georgia is more talented, Michigan does have enough talent that a couple play, if that game's going to be in the 20s, and a weird play one way or another, all of a sudden it's a blowout or it's a close game. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll try because they don't have a lot else in terms of experience right now at wide receiver. It's going to be all on him. Now, granted, Alabama's offense looked like crud without Williams against Auburn and looked okay or pretty good against Georgia without Mechie. So I don't think they're going to take too big of a step back. Obviously, the kids they have behind Mechie are supremely talented. They're Alabama, for goodness sakes. But it's a lot of inexperience. I think, like I've said, I've said a few times now. I'm going to say it one more time. I think Cincinnati defensively is good enough that early on, it's not going to be. I don't want to predict anything. Early on, it could be closer than we. It could be a pretty close game. Like you could look at halftime, and Cincinnati's only given up 17 points or 14 points because they do have a first round corner that won't quote unquote shut down Jamison Williams, but could do a pretty good job. The issue for Cincinnati is going to be, can they score? Because, yeah, your defense only gave up 17 points and a half to Alabama. Like, great job, honestly. Great job. But if your offense isn't getting points, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. We saw that. I keep bringing up the Michigan State game. Michigan State was only down 10. That game ended 38-0. That game was 10-0 in halftime. So you can go to the locker room and go, we're only down 10-0, like one drive, and we're back in this game. But Michigan State was never able to get that drive because Alabama's defense was just so overwhelming. And I think that's what could happen here, where you look at the final stats, you look at the final numbers, and it's like, oh, Cincinnati gave up 42 points. But they were on the field for 40 minutes. Like, it was only a matter of time before things just got out of control. I'm not quite understand. So maybe like Georgia has more talent. They do. They get the team to gel. They did. Like, they just lost by 17 points and still had, like, in 13 games had a point differential of like 300. Like, the SEC wasn't great this year. It was not very good. We're starting to see that. But Georgia killed everybody. Like, Michigan had trouble with Rutgers and Washington, who was terrible. Michigan football schedule. They obviously lost to Michigan State, who wasn't that good. They beat Ohio State. That was a really impressive win. They kicked the crud out of Iowa. Really impressive. Struggled with Penn State. Struggled with Nebraska, but everyone struggled with Nebraska. Played well against Wisconsin. Like, Michigan's not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to. Michigan's not going to be able to run the ball like they did against Ohio State. Like, they punked Ohio State. And I came on here and we talked about that. They punked them. And it was a lot of fun to watch. It really was. I was rooting for Michigan. I have family up there. They punked them. They're not going to punk Georgia. They're just not. Michigan's going to slap Georgia around. They destroyed Washington. It was a 31 to. It was like a 24-10 game. And Washington's terrible. No, they don't. Their defense is abysmal. 10th in the country. If I said they're terrible, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. That was a wrong thing to say. But come on. More explosive? Okay, so this is a good question. The next best defense after Georgia? No. Iowa's defense's numbers get a little inflated because they play Northwestern. And, well, Minnesota wasn't that bad this year, and Illinois and some really crappy teams in the AFC, in the Big Ten West. As far as explosiveness, If you look at the stats, yes. The Wolverines, I think, lead the country in explosive runs. And same with Wisconsin. Wisconsin always has elite numbers but part of that is because they're playing Illinois, Iowa, teams that are not exactly known for offense and have a buttload of talent. I do think Michigan can you guys are making it sound like I'm saying Michigan's going to get killed. I wouldn't predict the spread. Like I have Georgia by a touchdown. You guys are making it sound like I predicted Michigan to lose worse than Cincinnati. No, the best defense after Georgia is probably Alabama, maybe Cincy. Okay. More explosive than Bama. Is Michigan more explosive than Bama? No. In the run game, yes. Yes, in the run game they are. But that doesn't match up well against Georgia. Pass game, absolutely not. Cade McNamara is not Bryce Young. I hope that's not a hot take. That is true. And that also happened in the Rutgers game. Because wasn't that game like 20-7 and then Rutgers scored a touchdown and everyone's like, uh-oh. Back when we were still like, Michigan's got a Michigan. I remember that game not being like fun to watch. I think I was on here when that game was going on. Yes, thank you. Most of those rushing, I have to assume. They did, but Michigan's not going to punk Georgia like they punked Ohio State. Oregon punked Ohio State. Oregon didn't like punk anybody. They didn't punk you. They didn't punk Utah. There's the issue. Look, if we're trying to compare Michigan's offense to Alabama's offense, that's just not an argument. Michigan fans are going to win. I'm sorry. And I like Michigan. This year for them has been awesome. I rooted for them. It was good for Harbaugh to finally get over that Ohio State hump. The next step for Michigan is, should they lose to Georgia, the next step for Michigan is going to be showing that not a fluke isn't the right word, but that beating Ohio State isn't cause for rush the field craziness, 24-hour coverage. It's just like, oh yeah, we won a football game. Sort of like when Ohio State wins it, where it's like, oh yeah, we beat Michigan. Cool. Like, let's see. We got Will Anderson, Aiden Hutchinson arguments in the chat. I had a feeling that was coming, and he's second now. Michigan has the better quarterback than Stetson Bennett. Without having the exact numbers pulled up, Cade McNamara had a really good game against Michigan State, which is not surprising. Any team with a pulse at quarterback had a really good game against Michigan State. I don't remember how exactly he did against Ohio State. I think he made some throws, but they just punked the Buckeyes with Haskins. So he didn't really need to do a whole heck of a lot. Comparing McNamara to Stetson Bennett, I would think it's about even. The one thing that Cade has on Stetson is that Cade has been in a little bit of a shootout and come out on top. How do I want to phrase this best? Stetson Bennett hasn't been in a back and forth battle yet because he fell behind against Alabama pretty quickly and had to play catch up. They weren't like touchdown. Cade has played that kind of game. And that won't be like that against Georgia, but he has experience in more high scoring games than Stetson does, and I think that could help him. But as far as like who's better, I mean, they're about even. Like, neither of them are that great. Let's see. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think Cade McNamara or um, Stetson Bennett. Like, if you don't have a run game, if you don't have a run game, neither of these two guys are going to be the things that put you over the top. They're kind of like NFL, uh, like Alex Smith. I mean, neither of them are as good as Alex Smith, but it's kind of like Alex Smith. Where like Alex Smith won't lose you a game, but he's not going to win you a game. This isn't an argument why. Yeah, Bryce Young was the best player in the country this year. Power run. Yeah, Josh Gaddis has done a really good job this year, implementing more, beating a happy medium for when he wanted to run more spread RPO in 2019 with Shea Patterson, and then whatever the heck last year was. Like, we'll scratch that off and throw it away. Last year, they do some fun things offensively. It is all centered on the power run, yeah, but they do some fun things offensively. Again, Georgia just doesn't let anybody run on them. Like, Missouri had the third leading rusher in the country, in Tyler Beatty. He got 1,600 yards this year. Had like 8 against Georgia. So we'll see. It should be interesting. And now Michigan's offensive line is better than Missouri's offensive line. That goes without saying. Bennett, McNamara. Look, I'm just going to say they're about even, which 0.9 yards is quite a bit, but yeah, it's Georgia. Georgia has NFL guys at linebacker, like first round picks at line, and the Kobe Dean. And no, Georgia has better linebacker. I like Michigan. I know it seems like I'm trying to, and I don't want to go into SEC homer territory because I'm really not an SEC homer. I like my team, and I've been doing Alabama all year, so obviously I've grown a little bit of attachment to them. But yeah, Georgia's linebackers are better. Plus, every time the Big Ten and the SEC match up since Ohio State, hasn't this always been just like a spanking? Yeah, JJ McCarthy has a chance to play. McCarthy has a chance to play a pretty big role in this game. Just as not even. It's not even as like, because he's going to come in. Like, you're not going to put JJ McCarthy in to run your offense in this game. If you do, you lost because Nick Saban's going to tear him up. But he can be a good change of pace, and he certainly can do some things because he is very talented. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. Now the issue becomes, does it become like Michigan State where he comes in and he fumbles a ball or some other goofy things happen? I got Powerade here. I trust me. This thing you just saw me finish. This is like my 4th one of these in the last 3 hours. Like, I have been drinking water nonstop. I'm surprised I haven't gotten up to go to the restroom yet. I'm not kidding. 20. You got 21-17 Michigan. That's not a bad prediction. The thing with Michigan, Georgia, and I hate to keep saying this phrase. We've talked about this too. When you have a game between two teams that isn't going to score a lot of points, because Michigan's pass offense isn't explosive. It's just not. Cornelius Johnson's a good receiver, but it's just not that explosive. Is his name Cornelius Johnson? Who am I thinking of? Please tell me I'm right. Because if I'm not right on this one, I should probably just log off. It was Cornelius. Okay. Like they have some guys that can do some things, but it's not an explosive passing attack. They don't have a Heisman winner quarterback like Bryce Young did. Bryce Young is. Oh, thank God. I saw your thing, Blake name. Thank God. They don't have the passing attack that Alabama does. They have a better running attack, but that plays more into Georgia, like what Georgia does really, really, really well. Which is defend or against. They are historically great at stopping the run. So Cade's gonna have to make some plays, and yeah, Josh Gaddis did win Assistant Coach of the Year. He had a great year. He's gonna be on top of his game. Oh my God, dude, this is miserable. I hope none of the rest of you have to deal with this. Most of that in the run game, which is what Georgia shuts down. Georgia didn't allow like anything explosive in the run game. Michigan fans, I hope you are all here when I do. Oh, wait, I won't be doing post game because that's the night game, so I won't be doing post game. So, Michigan fans, you can catch me here after the Alabama Cincy game and bring more of this energy. I really do appreciate it. You guys are making this super fun. It would be fun for Michigan to win that game because I don't want to see a rematch. Have a cigarette. That sounds like the worst idea ever. I'm not going to be going for much longer. Thank you, though. I know I sound terrible. Trust me. Earlier, when I got up this morning, I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to do a show." But I took some meds and I've been drinking water pretty much nonstop. I don't know which one it is. I've had a sore throat for like since Sunday. I had a fever of 102 Sunday through yesterday. I don't have the chills anymore. Like part of the issue is I wasn't able to get a test until today. That was the big issue. I don't want to go too much into it, but I wasn't able to get a test. And I had the test where you have like the 2 bars and you wait, like you have to like get samples and stuff. And then you wait for like the second bar to show up. My bar showed up in like 2 minutes. It was like, oh yeah, this guy's got it. So no clue, but it's been miserable. Pickens. I'm shocked. No one's brought him up. He made cameo appearances against Alabama and Georgia Tech. He has the opportunity to be something that really brings something that Georgia hasn't had all year, which is like a super talent at receiver. He's a wild card. 9 through the air. Wow. Thank you, Mark. I didn't know. I thought I saw it was like 14 through the air. Whatever. Thank you. Mark with the super big descriptive. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Behind the Red Hawks? They win their bowl game? I don't remember. Georgia players, I'd assume. I have been doing that, and I've been doing stuff with Honey. If he's matched up with Jameson Williams, probably, I'd have to assume. I'd have to assume. That's what I've been doing. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. Just not sleep on my back, just because it clogs things up. It's like when you're sick, or when you're maybe had a little bit too much to drink, you don't want to be on your back. Thank you. I don't want to talk about it. All right, I'm gonna go for like 10 more minutes. Let's see. We got more Cincinnati talk. But if I'm going to get final score predictions, let me rub my temple and think about this. Final score predictions, I'm going to say Alabama 40, Cincinnati 14. I'm going to go Georgia 23, Michigan 16. Those are my predictions. I don't think when it comes to replacing Mechie, it's not just going to be one guy. That's going to have to be a mix of guys. Billingsley is going to have to come to play. Latu is going to have to come to play. Slade Bolden made some really big catches against Georgia. He's going to have to make some plays. JoJo Early's back, make some plays. And then Ja'Cory Brooks, who they've said has been really improving in practices. So, you know what? I think OSU's going to be okay. Timeout. Ohio State had a guy that threw for like 50 touchdowns in Dwayne Haskins, and then had Justin Fields. Look, I know Joe Burrow had the great year, and he's off to a really good start in his NFL career. Timeout on that one. 2, they also have a bunch of first-round wide receivers. I think they're okay. Let's see. 40-14 not happening. Look, I think it's going to be one of those games where the Cincinnati defense is just on the field so much it's going to get out of control. And I think the Cincinnati defense is going to play pretty well. It's just when you're on the field for 35, 40 minutes. I think so. I think that's what they said. I don't have everything pulled up, but someone asked about Georgia missing. Is Georgia missing any sitting out? No. I don't know if they have anybody sitting out. Yeah, he really might have. And people also forget that first year against LSU, for LSU, excuse me, he was fine, but he kind of just looked like another LSU quarterback, like a Danny Etling. Well, he's better than Danny Etling, but another like Zach Mettenberger, who got picked in the second round despite having Jeremy Hill, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, super talented offensive line. Yeah, so he looked like he was fine, just not great. And then I'm reading comments. You guys are fighting about, is Kirby Smart am I saying if Kirby Smart is a bad coach? Guys, Nick Saban has ruined all of you. Is Ryan Day now a bad coach? Anyway, Nick Saban has just ruined college football, and it's not his fault. It just is. There's no patience anymore. Yeah, Burrow came out of nowhere. We were rooting against Brian Kelly. My family. Who can hate Brian Kelly besides everybody? Okay, I'll take comments till 1:15, and then I will respond to those comments, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hop off, and I'm gonna go take some more meds and lay down and eat something because I haven't eaten today. It's probably not a good thing. Get more water. My family. That was the funniest thing ever. I'm sorry. LSU fans. LSU fans are just they're just trying. There was someone were trying to defend him. I'm like, come on, like he Hillary Clinton that. I'm sorry you feel that way. Uh, is Urban gonna enter Nick Saban's coaching rehab clinic? No. Urban's probably gonna go back to Fox, to be honest. My man's like, he's not talking about Alabama Cincy. Like I didn't talk about it for 30 minutes. Yeah, I'll probably go back to Fox. And maybe get a job in like a year or two. Yeah, I know Urban wasn't in love with Joe Burrow, which is funny because my my choke coach. Who the hell are you talking to? Yeah, that's the thing too. I don't understand this SEC thing. Like I've never understood it. Okay, and I wanted to talk about this. The SEC bowl thing. Oh, they're 0-4. Okay, Missouri was an underdog to Army. Was missing a bunch of players, including Tyler Beatty, the third leading rusher in the country, and lost on a game-winning field goal. Okay. Houston beat Auburn. Cool. So the second best team in the AAC is slightly better than the 11th best team in the SEC. UCF, Florida. Okay, that's fine. The one that, if you want to talk about Mississippi State, Texas Tech, yeah, we'll talk about that one. That was atrocious. But Red Raiders. I missed some comments. Yeah, but Scott Frost is sure. Yeah, he's going to follow Jim Tressel and Bo Pelini. Yeah, I know. It just means more until it doesn't mean more. I know. I'm not even trying to use that excuse. I'm just trying to use, like, they didn't want to be there. I'm just saying, like, none of these results have been surprising. Like, Mizzou and Florida, they were underdogs. Houston's the second best, a ranked second best AAC team, and they beat Auburn by one score, like the 11th best SEC team. Rationalizing or just giving facts? Like The one that if there's the one that you can be like, oh, the SEC sucks is Mississippi State, because that game last night was atrocious, and Mississippi State was ranked like what 4 or 5 weeks ago in the college football playoff top 25. Like that, what was that? That was atrocious. That's also the Mike Leach experience. I'm not rationalizing that game, but like the Missouri game, Missouri wasn't very good, missing a bunch of players, including the third leading rusher in the country. And I'm a Missouri fan, so I know how bad that team was. Then Michigan was the best team in college football, and the Big Ten was the best conference in college. This was a bad year for the SEC. They weren't that good. Georgia and Bama are really good, and we could potentially see that Friday. But outside of that, it was a really weak year for the conference. Auburn wasn't good. LSU wasn't good. Florida wasn't good. Teams that were expected to take steps up, like Missouri, weren't good. Tennessee was better than everyone thought they'd be. Kentucky was pretty good. Ole Miss was really good, but like other than that, it was just a bunch of bleh. It was a bunch of how I'm feeling. Bleh. Yeah. Yeah. Brighter future, Oregon or Oklahoma? That's a very good question. I'm going to say Oklahoma because Oklahoma. Oh man, but you got the move to the SEC coming up. Oregon because you have the Phil Knight money. And you only have one real contender in that conference, and that's USC. Yeah, I did fail to mention Arkansas. Arkansas was better than everyone thought they might be. Arkansas is on their way up. Yeah, and Penn State fell apart after the Iowa game. But like, I'm talking like everyone thought Florida was going to be. Florida was near the top 10 at one point, and then they just collapsed. People were hoping like Missouri would take a step, not maybe to being a top 25 team, but like an 8-4 level team. LSU was preseason top 15. They stunk. So in the Big Ten, yes, Indiana collapsed, but Michigan. No one thought Michigan State was going to be that good. There was no team in the SEC that everyone was like, this team might be okay, but they're going to probably be, but ended up being really good. Anybody who knew anything knew Kentucky was going to have a chance to be very good this year. With the offensive line talent they had, the new scheme they're bringing offensively, and Wan'Dale Robinson, anybody who knows Mark Stoops and how that program has worked knew Kentucky was going to be pretty good this year. I had them going 9-3. So they were pretty good, but there was no team in the SEC this year that surprised anybody. We all knew Ole Miss was going to be good. We all know Alabama, Georgia. It was a bunch of teams that surprised being bad. Let's see. I went longer than I wanted to, but whatever. Underrated or just accurate? They a bunch of transfer portal guys. They only won 2 games last year, but no, Mel Tucker did a hell of a job. Oh, I could go into a 20-minute rant on how preseason rankings are the stupidest things on the planet. And I'll give an example. So Alabama lost a game to Texas A&M. And they're still in the playoff. They're still the number 1 team in the country. Fine. If a team if Michigan State had won out, would they be even then in? Like if you're not ranked very quickly, like your margin for error is so thin. Let's see. Yeah, probably. Well, no, they've won the division. The team that could use division realignment is like Rutgers, who's on their way up, but they're never going to win that division. Could you see Whittingham have a crack at a playoff run? Kyle Whittingham, again, I can only use what I know. Kyle Whittingham reminds me of like the Gary Pinkel era at Mizzou, where they went, and it's more consistent. But I'm just talking about at the peak, where they have a lot of really good seasons, but because of the talent deficit and the talent difference between, like at that time, like Mizzou and Oklahoma State, and the talent difference between Utah and Washington State is so thin that they have potential to lose those games more than a USC if USC is really going, or an Oregon. So I don't think Utah will ever make a playoff just because they have to win every swing game and upset a couple people. But Kyle Whittingham's a hell of a coach. It's like Mizzou would like lose a game to on the road at Nebraska, and it's like, okay, we're still in the division hunt, and then lose to Texas Tech because the talent margin was so thin. It was a wide receiver. It was Lynn Bowden. Yeah, but they're making a lot of good. They're making a lot of they're making a lot of noise in football, and they've just brought in. Let's see, and I only use 247, so I think they're the 11th ranked recruiting class because Mizzou's 12th, and they're right ahead of Mizzou. How many years in the last 5 would that be true, though? 1, maybe 2017, or not 2017, 2016, maybe 2017. 2017, the year with Penn State. Yeah, but they lost that weird game. Yeah, no, probably like once, maybe this year. Maybe. I like Utah. It was fun watching them stomp Oregon twice. They're a good program. I was really rooting for them a couple years ago when they were playing Oregon in the Pac-12 title game to make the playoff, because they would have gotten stomped by Burrow and LSU. But I like when programs that go under the radar, like Utah, gets their moment in the sun. Just real hardworking programs with a bunch that have had a bunch of really good teams that maybe don't get the national attention they deserve. And it would have been cool to see them in the playoff. I don't know if they will, though. UConn? I don't know about that one. And went 9-3. Like, it's like I just said with Utah, the talent margins are so thin that they're going to lose games to teams, but they're a good program. Yeah, Mark Stoops. I mean, look, and I'm kind of done talking about Mizzou because it just brings me nothing but pain. But watching where that program was, because when Mizzou came into the conference, it was like, okay, they'll finish 3rd or 4th every year, behind Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and like Kentucky will be at the bottom, Vanderbilt will be at the bottom. They'll kind of be competing with South Carolina. But seeing the rise Mark Stoops has taken them since he got there in 2014, it's been nothing short of incredible, because that program was dead, and he's done a really good job under a bunch of different circumstances. Bad quarterbacks, no quarterbacks. Finally got a system that works. They got a great player in Wandale. No, the Tennessee's not Tennessee. Kentucky's on the way up. Tennessee might be on the way up too. All right, I'm going to end it there. I need to go to bed or go eat, and so I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. I'll say it one more time. After the Alabama-Cincinnati game, I'll be live probably 20 to 30 minutes after the game. I'll be live. Thank you guys all for being here, even the ones that hate me or who hated me. Tune in. I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of the bowl season. Where we're getting good games like every hour. And have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And Happy New Year. If you're not here, 2021's kind of been a crap year. So hopefully 22 is much better. I'll talk to you guys all on Friday.